Welcome back, guys. This is Gaming with Alston, and today we are on episode 20 of Pyramid City. For those of you who are fans of the King of Random, let me give you an update on Grant Thompson's carcass. On his carcass. His death was ruled accidental. Investigators discovered that Grant Thompson's death was an accidental death. He wasn't murdered or anything, he was in a paragliding accident. It wasn't his fault he was in it, hence it was an accident. Hence, the death was... You know, it's not just teenagers that are at a greater risk of suffering depression. Even the elderly people are, too. Mainly because they don't know mainly because certain illnesses they have that are terminal. What could have been done to prevent the paragliding accident? Because, you know, there are factors in paragliding accidents that the one involved in that dies in the accident cannot control. Like the weather. The weather's one of the things they cannot control. Heart disease is not entirely preventable. Neither is obesity. Because there are risk factors for obesity that the patient has no control over whatsoever. The factors the patient has no control over includes, but not limited to, genetics. If your parents are overweight, you're actually more likely to become overweight. If your parents are overweight. Just like you're more likely to start smoking if your parents are smokers. If it wasn't for discipline, I would probably be a smoker by now. It's a good thing I never smoked. If I did, I would stop. You know, people with... It's not just that people with autism are more likely to become... or at a slightly greater chance of becoming overweight. They are actually at a greater risk of becoming a smoker. Not because of the condition itself, but because of disorders comorbid with autism, especially depression and anxiety. How I deal with my anxiety? I pump a lot of iron in my room. I pump a lot of iron in my room. I pump a lot of iron in my room. Wikipedia users made an article about the King of Random as a way to pay tribute to Grant Thompson. Grant Thompson. Suffering a heart attack in the middle of a flight, as an airplane pilot, would be bad news for all the passengers. As an airplane pilot, you're putting the lives of all the passengers in your hands. Even an internal distraction, a distraction that happens, something that distracts you from inside your body, whether it be chest pains caused by a heart attack, or feeling of numbness caused by a stroke, you shouldn't ignore those signs at all. If you're suffering those, like an if it feels like an elephant stomping on your chest, go to the hospital immediately. You should go to the hospital, run to the Have someone take you to the ER as quickly as possible. If you have epilepsy, then being an airline pilot is not the job for you. Because some people, their seizures can be triggered by rapid movement. Just like one of my friends who visited vocational rehabilitation, who has epilepsy. Rapid movement, like whether even inside a car, can be enough to trigger a seizure. It can be enough to trigger a seizure. Or movement, visual movement in which you see things move around you over a long period of time can be enough to trigger a seizure. I know, because I have a friend of mine who has epilepsy. Sometimes it could happen to him. What would be worse than going into a fight at a theme park? Suffering a grand mal seizure in front of everyone would be the worst thing to happen. I believe that for people with epilepsy, they should be they should be at least 3 years seizure free before they could fly in a commercial airplane. Because airplane pilots put the lives of the passengers in their hands. If something goes wrong with the pilot, all the passengers, they're fucked. They are fucked. They're literally screwed. You know, grand mal seizures can actually ground an airplane pilot for a while. And prevent them from flying. If the epilepsy is severe enough, they'll prevent them from ever flying an airplane again. Even birth defects can be enough to cause epilepsy. Especially cerebral palsy. We need to make it a more well-known condition. We need to spread awareness about cerebral palsy. Because I have a friend of mine that has it. I do have a friend of mine that has cerebral palsy. I knew someone who had cerebral palsy that caused him to not be able to use any of his extremities. He ended up dying from complications of it. I know. His mother was neighbors with my grandmother. His mother was neighbors with my grandmother. For some people with epilepsy, anything can be enough to trigger a seizure. some people with epilepsy, anything can be enough to trigger a seizure. If they start suffering a seizure, just let them seize. You have to let them seize. Don't ever attempt to restrain someone who is suffering a seizure. Don't ever attempt to restrain them, because that could injure them. I know what to do. My mom's an EMT. You know, spike in blood pressure can cause a seizure, too. Same thing with an insulin spike. One factor behind why housing is costs are increasing faster than inflation, a lot of it has to do with some of it has to do with climate change. Climate change can turn corporations into cartels. One of the factors behind why they end up becoming cartels as a result of climate change, food becomes more expensive, as there's not enough fertile land to grow all the food. Imagine a Stalinist dictatorship that started giving workers close to a lethal dose of anabolic steroids just to keep the work going. A lot of the workers would go into roid rage. Workers on roids. Heart disease rates would spike. My personal opinion on Marmite is I'd eat the hell out of it. Even though it's loaded with salt, I would eat the hell out of it. I'd eat the hell out of it. Even though it's loaded with sodium, I'd eat the hell out of it. Because I kind of need that sodium. Plus, my body's kind of in desperate need for sodium. because I train very intensively. Even if I was of drinking age, I'm not gonna drink any booze. Because that's bad for the liver. I value my liver more than any. About as much as I do my life. Despite the sodium having a lot of sodium, Marmite's actually pretty good for you. It could save patients who have hyponatremia. Severe hyponatremia. Low sodium diets are not good for you. Believe it or not, low sodium diets really are not good for you. You shouldn't believe everything you see on the internet. The truth is, low sodium diets really are not good for you. In fact, that diet does you more harm than good. Because of hyponatremia. And if left untreated, it can cause permanent brain damage. But hypernatremia can cause appetite loss, which means rapid weight loss. If hypernatremia is left untreated, the patient can experience rapid weight loss. Even with junk food habits, I'm kind of a toothpick. Well, some of it has to do with my sodium and my... you know, high sodium intake can lead to appetite loss due to hypernatremia. How does the so-called high meat make you high? Asparagus gets high off of rotten meat. Ugh. Asparagus tries, like, he does it. Sometimes he would do a video in which he gets high off of rotten meat. Ugh. That's disgusting. That is just disgusting. He leaves it out to rot until it's a gooey, moldy, slimy, gooey, moldy mess. Ugh. He leaves out the meat out to rot. ferment. He promotes the idea of not only natural racism, but also natural slavery, as he believes that both racism and slavery are human nature. He consumed... The type of meat that Sverige gets high off of is rotten meat. He was hospitalized for both mental and physical health reasons. He almost died from an infection brought on by eating raw bone marrow. He almost died from an infection involving eating raw bone marrow. When he was locked in a mental institution, where he wanted to kill and eat people. He is a racist cannibal who wants to bring back slavery. Sverige is a racist cannibal who wants to bring back slavery. He is a racist, cannibalistic, pro-slavery activist. He is the only guy to ever fail a Rorschach test. That is how crazy he really is. He's the only guy to ever fail a Rorschach test. If you don't know what a Rorschach test is, it's basically an inkblot test where they ask you what that inkblot reminds you of. Yakko Warner was subject to a Rorschach test in one of the episodes of Animaniacs. In the pictures in the Rorschach test he was taking part of, almost always reminded him of girls. But Sverige is really crazy. He's the only guy to ever fail a Rorschach test. He's one of those flat earthers who doesn't believe who believes that gravity does not even exist at all. Sverige, why don't you come to Soda City so we can have an MMA match, because I know you're into self-defense and hand-to-hand combat. Dude, why don't you come to Soda City? So we can have an MMA match. See who the stronger, more nourished one is. But you won't do it, because you're jealous of vegans who are bigger and stronger than you. Like me. Like, I was talking about, like, due to the fact that I'm bigger and stronger than you, too. You're jealous of vegans who are bigger and stronger than you are. Like, hint herbivore. Like, I'm talking about those vegans that are bigger and stronger than you. You should have been given a fine of about 1,000 pounds for eating that raw squirrel. Spirit, your diet is disgusting. Anyways, this should be it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you like this video. Dislike if you disliked it. Subscribe for more. Don't forget to share this with your friends on social media. And as always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more and peace out.